I call to order this regular meeting of the Navasota Planning and Zoning Commission of June 27th, 2024. Because I just heard a cell phone ring, if you would, at this time, please silence your mobile phones. And we will rise for the invocation. You want to do it again?
No, you go ahead. Yeah. I did it last time.
Heavenly Father, as we convene this evening, we ask that you guide us in the decision that we have to make. Our country's in a terrible time right now. We ask that you bless our country, our state, and definitely the city of Navasota. There are good people everywhere, Lord. We're here to help them. We pray this in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start adding the flags to the text.
I gotta memorize it. Are there any remarks of the visitors tonight, Lupe?
No, sir. I believe most of the people here are going to be speaking on items 5.
Okay. And I've been informed that there is no agenda item number 4 this evening. It's been pulled, so that'll take us right into agenda item number 5. Consideration and possible action on a replat submitted by J&H Development LLC and Claire Taylor for the replat of 3 existing lots into 14 single-dwelling residential lots. The properties affected are located along Back 9 Lane in Navasota, Grimes County, Texas, 77868, legally described as Pecan Lakes Estates Phase 3, Section 2, Lot 48, and Pecan Lakes Estates Phase 3, Section 3, Lots 45 and 46. Lupe, what you got?
Mr. Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission, so just to briefly summarize the application, there's been a replat submitted by J&H and Claire Taylor. There's 3 existing 10-acre lots on the south end of Pecan Lakes Phase 3. The proposed application intends to re-subdivide those properties with the creation of 14 lots. I've gotten a few calls on confusion. Is it 12 or 14? Where did the extra 2 come from? The reason that is 2 of those lots are going to remain as large acreage, and you really have to pay attention to see where they gain access, that they are going to be there. Aside from that, the proposed replat was reviewed per applicable subdivision regulations, and so if theoretically, let's say if this is approved, then staff would work with those individual lots to make sure that they get adequate utilities. This is already a platted subdivision with water lines, sewer lines, gas lines, and so then it would just be coordinating connection to each lot and obviously reviewing those permit applications for homes on a case-by-case basis. I know that Mr. Hassel is here tonight to answer any questions, as well as Ms. Taylor. Actually, I haven't met her yet, but I'm sure she's out here somewhere. There she is. And so if you have any questions, you can open the floor. And of course, this is, it's not a public hearing item, but it is open to the public for comments. Or it is a public hearing, and it's open for comments.
No, it's not a public hearing. Lupe, it's not a public hearing.
Well, right, but
But it is open for
yes,
comment.
correct.
Yes, as long as you speak on the agenda item.
And keep it to 3 minutes.
And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you do come to the podium to speak, state your name and address, please. Mr. Hassel, you have anything you'd like to say about this?
I think it's a welcome addition to the subdivision over there. We should have done that when we designed the subdivision. We put too much land in that floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that we got somebody that's going to help take part of them out. And like I say, it's a welcome addition to the subdivision. More people belong to the HOA now.
Yes, sir. About how many acres of those 3 lots is in the floodplain?
How many acres?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say probably maybe 8, 7 to 8. You know, that one house is built halfway back in,
Right.
into the 10-acre tract.
It's back there towards that pond.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Hassel?
These 10-acre lots were originally platted when Phase 3 was platted?
Correct, yes. Half were platted in Phase 3, Section 2, and Phase 3, Section 3. Originally, it split that middle one right down the center, or one of those down the center. Yeah, 47 and 48 belong to Phase 3, Section 2, and 45 and 46 belong to Phase 3, Section 3.
Can you make sense of that?
Barely.
Okay.
Can we put it up here? So everybody can see it?
So this is as is today,
Okay.
and this is the proposed. So it combines 45 and 46, and obviously creates these lots along the frontage, and then creates lots here.
How big are the lots?
Minimum,
Smaller print for me.
yeah, so minimum width is 50, which is the minimum standard in the Phase 3 PUD.
Okay.
And then the depths, they also reach the minimum. They're at least 100 foot deep.
All the HOA standards for the rest of the development will apply to these lots.
Yeah, so I believe Phase 3, in terms of home regulations, it's required 3 sides masonry. And so that same requirement would apply to these homes.
So when the Phase 3, Section 2 plat was approved, it was approved for 160 of the small lots and then these 2 big lots?
Correct.
And then the next phase came through and was another 160 or 200 or whatever it was at the time, and the 2 other big lots?
Yeah.
Yes.
And part of the, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the reason for the big lots is because most of that's not usable ground,
Yes.
correct?
All these people out here and no one wants to say anything?
Please step up, state your name, address. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
And just to note, there is a letter attached to the front of the packet. That is public feedback from a resident in the area. They weren't able to be here tonight. However, they wanted to make sure you received a copy.
So we live at 2431
Okay, state your name first.
Celeste Belmosky.
Okay.
We live at 2431 Three Wood Way. So our personal concern is the flood zone. I would like to know if these lots are in the Zone A flood zone, because we are concerned, and I'm not sure if that's why we have such a good turnout tonight, but it could be, that we are concerned with flooding of the neighborhood, of the neighbors.
So the only two lots that are, or I guess almost three, it's these here. So here is the flood zone line. So these three are impacted by that. This one, probably 30% of it is. So those would individually have to do certificates of elevation just to basically bring them up a bit. But the majority of the area here along the frontage is out of the flood zone.
So those would be,
That line there is not completely accurate. To the south. But those other two lots that are already in flood zone, but she would have to take them out.
Correct.
so that's kind of the concern, at least for us, is we have that retention ditch right behind our home along the golf course corridor. So if you build these homes up, even if they're not in the flood zone A, I would imagine they still have to be taken to a higher elevation. Then the water is, common sense, it's going to drain back to the cul-de-sac area, back a little bit into the farmland, and then it's going to hit that retention ditch. And the last couple of large rainstorms we've had, that ditch has completely filled up. It is being kept clean and neat, so it's just not able to handle that kind of a rain cycle. So that's our concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Claire Taylor, and I own I forget the lot number, the one closest to the golf course.
With the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, where the cul-de-sac is. And the plan is that, is it Mr. Greenwood is going to build another, like, a retention pond, like on my property, of about anywhere 3/4 acre to possibly an acre. We haven't decided on the exact size. And then move the dirt up, to raise those lots out of the floodplain. Now, so there would be basically, a lake on my property. However, anyway, Mr. Greenwood did tell me that there's some kind of city regulation where the back end of the lot's supposed to be higher than the front end, which would put it into the cul-de-sac, but I don't know if we can, change it, because he's a very expert at all this grading and did all that in the subdivision. So we, are concerned, to take steps to prevent any flooding in the, you're talking about the pond that's on the, by the golf course. I mean, so we're aware of concerns of that nature, and we are trusting Mr. Greenwood to resolve it in a way that doesn't make any flooding by putting in like a retention pond on my land.
For me, I'm not familiar with Mr. Greenwood. Could you help me understand who that is?
Chuck Greenwood, contractors, he knows, contractors in this, been here for many years.
He lives right.
Yes.
Don Belnoski, 2431 Three Woodway.
My wife spoke up a little bit earlier. Our concern is that floodplain. The only recommendations I make before those houses are built is somebody comes out that's experienced in flood levels and do a study on that before those houses are built. The other thing, it's going to look kind of funny, and this is just off the record, but you've already allowed one residence in there to have 10 acres. You're going to build houses on each side of that one 10-acre lot, which is really going to look, the aesthetics is going to be kind of off. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Angie Chapman. My husband's here as well, Butch Chapman, and we actually own the 10-acre tract that's there. We recently moved here about 3 weeks ago. We purchased this lot about a year ago, and when we purchased it, we specifically had asked if this was going to be a single homes on these lots, not multiple. We would have never probably purchased this lot if we would have known something like this was going to happen. What you said is exactly right. Looking at that and having one 10-acre tract around a neighborhood, I've never even seen that before. I've never even heard of something like that even being able to be done. I look at the concerns as this, just from my point of view, because I feel like this really impacts us. And it was such a unique piece. You had 4 10-acre tracts, beautiful 10-acre tracts that they could build on. The appeal to that was why we moved there. There were a lot of other places we could have looked at, but we looked at that because we had just come from a place where we were right with homes and we wanted to be just a little way away from them. Well, now we're looking at what is going to happen to our property value. If we were to sell, the lack of motivated buyers because of the replatting, like he said, I mean, you're going to go into it and now we fenced off 10 acres and then you're going to have houses all around it and we're not even for sure if anybody's going to build the back. Drainage issues, what this new building of homes around us is going to look like and how it's going to affect our front and back. The vacant 10-acre lots that are now around us aren't even being mowed or taken care of. And when I called the HOA, they said that they feel like it could be the city's responsibility now that they're going to check into it. They don't even think it's the HOA. Now, the other vacant lots that are in Pecan Lakes Estates are being well kept, but this is not there. If you go in there and look, it's 6 foot high. I can't even see the golf course anymore. And I think it's maybe because of the replatting that they were thinking that that was what was going to happen. It used to be mowed, it used to be built, it's not at all anymore. We ended up putting a fence around our entire 10 acres and it is just crushing it. And I'm telling you, when I say 6 foot tall, I mean it has gotten 6 foot tall. And, you know, like I said, you know, we were told when we purchased that lot that there were not going to be multiple houses on these. That was a huge selling point to us. And now we come here, we've been here for 3 weeks, and now we find out that it could be replatted. And we just feel like it's just been very undermined, and that was just wrong for them to do to us. But the drainage is a problem, and we have actually built where it's, you know, the land is a little bit higher, and we built up on it. But if you go to look at that, there is going to be some drainage problems, and that's a concern for me too in the front. And if that's going to be replatted, all that's going to be replatted, then why not me just start replatting mine as well too, because it's not going to look good in the area that I'm in. And we spent a lot of money to get that lot because we were told that it was going to be 4 10-acre lots. And unfortunately, if this starts happening now, it's going to be 1 10-acre lot in a neighborhood, which isn't appealing to people at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you put the floodplain on there?
What's the year that data was generated?
I think this is from 2012, I believe.
2012?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes FEMA a long time to update these maps.
Yeah.
I'm Nancy Perry. I live at 1420 Washington Avenue. I'm the broker at Navasota Realty. And I think most everybody here knows that the old FEMA floodplain maps are really extremely exaggerated. So we know that that floodplain is not anywhere near up that far as it shows on that map. And on the right side, as I'm facing it, there will be still a 10-acre tract on the right, even though there'll be 6 basically quarter-acre lots up in the front. And on the left side, there'll be a tract that's a little over 16 acres. There'll be 6 what I would call standard size lots on the left and 6 quarter-acre plus lots on the right. And then there's 10 acres where it says Block 4. That would be a 10-acre tract. There's a large drainage ditch that runs along between the golf course and that Lot 48. There's a substantial drainage ditch that feeds back into the retention pond. And Claire has already taken into consideration the fact that all of the drainage on Lot 48 needs to be controlled and handled there within the confines of Lot 48. So that's already been, well, she's already addressed that. On the other side, there is another drainage ditch that runs along the west border of those 2 lots, and the 6 lots that are being proposed there are high and dry, facing the street. And as Mr. Hassel said, I think this was just a kind of an oversight on his part when he was first laying this out, that he didn't plat it this way to begin with. So they're nice lots, the quarter-acre lots. I expect we're going to have larger homes there. Claire Taylor herself plans on building a nice home on the 10 acres that's next to the golf course, and I totally expect we'll have larger than normal homes on the right side or on the bigger lots, and the normal standard homes that look like Pecan Lakes homes on the smaller lots. Thank you.
So on the floodplain map, even though it might be old or outdated, that's what's going to be used when those lots go up for sale for flood insurance. So I just want to bring that up. What I would propose is maybe table the issue until the owners of the property can present to you all a plan for the drainage retention pond, additional drainage. I don't know who Mr. Greenwood is, I'm sorry, but perhaps they could present that information to you so that we have some kind of comfort that the flood issues are being managed here with you all.
Lupe,
Thank you.
can you pull up on there where the retention pond is at the back of those properties? Pretty massive retention pond.
Well, they're gonna add another one, is that what they said?
Well, one doesn't know what the topography is, and is it
It
flowing?
all slopes down to that big pond.
But she's saying that it's flowing.
If y'all remember, city regulations require the lot to drain to the front,
Yes,
from the rear to the front.
yes.
And all these lots will, from the rear to the front. These 2 lots on the west side have been on for sale for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. We've had no interest in them. And that's why we want to do something to try to get something moving on the lot. I mean, it's just set there. And as you well know, that Johnson grass grows fast, and I have a hard time getting somebody to, on a regular basis, to mow it. So-
Jim, one of the residents pointed out that they're gonna build another detention pond somewhere. Are you aware of that?
They're gonna build a detention pond. The lady that's gonna build the lots on the right, the east side,
Yes,
she's
sir.
gonna build a detention pond.
Okay. To catch the water off that cul-de-sac?
Yes.
Okay.
But she's also gonna build a house on that lot too, right?
She's gonna build a house on those lots,
Oh,
and
like her
the big lot, she's gonna build her house. But behind it will be the detention pond for, catch the extra water.
But we don't have a
But-
picture of that.
Those detention ponds down there, they've never filled up and come back up that far. Never. In all the rains that we've had, they've never done that.
Yes, sir.
John Cleveland, 2307 Three Wood. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is, yeah, there's challenge, and everybody thinks about the flooding. And there's people here in this room that remember when water was redirected in the city and all downtown's flooded, right? So we have concerns about water being redirected out there and causing problems like that we can't see, we can't foresee, because we don't know what the engineers have decided. Another thing that concerns me is the lack of internet availability for any new house out there. So the people that are in the last subdivision over there, the last piece of that expansion, have no high-speed internet from Optimum or Optum or whatever the name is, or Brightspeed or any of that, and that's a problem. So, you have people that are buying these new houses and they're trying to have a work-at-home space because they can, and then they can't get high-speed internet. So I want to know, it's a disservice to the people that have already bought houses and have discovered that even though they paid a deposit to be able to have high-speed internet, that, there's not enough ports out there, there's not enough sockets out there for them to have that high-speed internet. So is planning and zoning or any other part of the city doing anything with any internet company like Mid-South maybe to bring another high-speed internet to that area that gives us some kind of access? I can tell you that my internet is bad. I won't even say that word, but it's bad. And we should be able to have something respectable. I think there was something else, but, I'm at that age where I can't remember when I walk in the other room what it was I went in there to get. So I'll come back later. Thank you.
This would be addressed to my neighbor on the west of me. One thing that I had considered as a possibility is, planting a bunch of, or paying to plant a bunch of trees, either like, I didn't know what your plans were for the front end of your property, because I see right now you've kind of built something far back. But I thought, well, to kind of block the back end of the properties on her east side, within reason, I thought, well, I could plant a bunch of trees, that would kind of block, the view. And since that's the west end, the people might appreciate, just having some, buffer of the west sun. And the trees could either, possibly be on their property, or it could be on, the other property. And if it was on the other property, within, I don't know I haven't researched the cost, but within reason, it could be possible to plant a bunch of trees as a visual buffer, assuming, I don't know what her plans are, where she wants to build her regular house, because I don't know if the barn is a regular house, you know, but anyway, that was just a thought that I had.
Thank you, ma'am.
Possibility.
Do they have to do additional studies if these are replatted before they build?
That's definitely the discretion of planning and zoning, and I mean, this is the first that we're hearing about a possible new detention pond, so I think it'd be warranted to, you know, if an action was done tonight, whether to approve or deny, if it was to deny, it would be until further drainage information is provided to staff. I think that'd be a fair ask.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, like, I'm not for sure, were you speaking to me? Okay, and do you own that lot next to us? Okay, so you own the 10-acre tract. And so you're going to replat your 10-acre tract? You're in with the replatting piece of it? So you bought that 10 acres and then you're going to replat it and have houses put on it? See, we didn't know anything about this. That's why I'm asking right now, because I was confused back there. So you did purchase it?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I just thought that the developer had not sold any of those yet, and then he was replatting all of that. But so in other words,
I'm still going to have
No.
10 acres because
No, they don't exist yet. That's fair.
They won't be clear.
there was the ditch, you
Yes.
know, and
Yes.
then there was a.
No, all of them would be clear.
but you're going to have homes around the front of yours, and then you're going to build in the back?
Yeah.
These would be her plats, and then she would build a detention pond in her homestead here.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I've seen it pond or lake.
That RV garage that we're in right now, we're living in the RV while we're getting our home built right next to it. So our home's being built in the front of the pond. And so we had to lift that land up in order to build there. So right now we moved into our RV garage while we're waiting for our home to be built.
But is it
Our home is right next to the garage. So where you see that big garage at, the home is right next to it on the right-hand side.
well, anyway, so I was thinking like in the front, it would help to have a bunch of trees.
Yeah. It's not so much that piece, because the back of it, it looks as though we're not going to be seeing any of the front. What I have a concern with is...
Ma'am,
Oh, I'm sorry.
maybe you two could
Yeah.
talk
Yeah, that'd
independently?
be fine.
We can get together.
Thank you. I just did not know that anyone had even purchased that lot.
Yeah, I've had it for over a year.
Okay.
I just to say, I was reading the letter that was sent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at first I was confused too, but just to clear it up publicly, it is 14 plats, but there's only going to be 12 residential plats.
Right, 12
So you'll only see 12 sections where houses will be built, but the remaining land on those two lots are considered residential,
Yes.
just for whoever.
Not to be subdivided, right? Or, you know, that's...
They
the
can't
other
be
question.
subdivided because they're in a floodplain.
Well,
But just to clear that up
a
for,
little bit, Mary, you could do a little bit.
That's where her house is.
Sharon Hudson, 7404 Masters Drive. I'm here in concern for future fellow owners of Pecan Lakes. I am up above all of this that we're talking about now, but I am in Pecan Lakes. When I moved into the subdivision from out of town, I specifically asked, because of my lifestyle and dogs, how drainage worked, and I was told that they showed me how it was graded and how the water would drain and everything would be fine. I ended up retaining a lawyer and fought for a year because my yard flooded, and that was just with people watering their grass. After a year, it was either build a French drain or go to court. I could only afford the French drain. My house is surrounded on 3 sides like this box with a French drain, and I am higher than these houses that are being built now.
Sharon, can I ask a question? Do you have a D.R. Horton home?
I do not.
Okay, because I have a D.R. Horton home, and we have the same issue.
Yes, and I don't feel we're supposed to speak about others, but I can tell you that I know of 3 houses on my street that have built French drains in order to keep their property dry so that they can enjoy their house and the land on which they live. So I'm here to speak to this property before it gets built, and I'm very concerned about the drainage before it even gets started. Like, I would like to know how they expect to keep it drained, because when they go in with what they say build, and it's the basic, plan, and everybody approves it, but at this level, I'm not sure what you call it, but at that level, basic's not working. So, and then, on the other hand, are we on phase 4 now? On
Yes.
Pecan Lakes? When I moved in, there was only gonna be 3 phases, so it keeps morphing. And that's a concern, how many houses are we gonna end up with out there? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
So, I'm Deborah Fouts. I live on 2427 Divot, Block 5, right there on the corner. And when we bought our house, we bought it sight unseen because we moved here from a different state. And it was beautiful. We were told nobody was going to live there. And now that's going to happen. And I'm a little bit upset, first of all, that somebody could buy a 10-acre lot and somebody else could buy a 10-acre lot, and then suddenly you can make a lot of money by selling the front half of it. That's not fair. The other part is, I still have drainage issues to this day. We've had a D.R. Horton house. I don't know if that is an excuse for it, because I live at the end and we have the whole entire street draining into our yard, and we can't use our backyard. The street constantly has water sitting on it. I'm still fighting with D.R. Horton, and I don't see how adding more houses is going to bring a solution to this. So I hope that this is not truly going to happen and it's going to be thought over before it does.
What does that property look like across from you when we do have a lot of rain?
6 feet tall grass right now.
Standing water?
No, the standing water is by my house.
It's in your
The
yard.
standing water is in my house. Right now, they built a lovely little rock garden that has caused my backyard to flood even worse. I get the entire streets water coming into our house, and my mother has the house next door, so we're double flooded. The water sits on the street all the time. We're constantly cleaning up dirt and pushing the water away. But I will have to say, the other side of the street does not have standing water on it. However, when it did flood, we had that big rain, the whole lot, almost all the way up from the side, up to about, I don't know, where the 40 is right there. Water was standing there when we did have a lot of water. And we were able to see it from our house.
Water. 6-foot grass will keep out the water.
Exactly. And I already have to have, I love where we live, I love my neighbors, I love the whole place, but I'm getting everybody's grass in my yard already. From this field, we get everything blowing across the street, clogging up our gutters. It's not a good idea. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do what?
Let's move on. One more thing, Mr.
One
Hassan?
more thing. As you all know, the city regulation says the lot will drain from the back to the front. And when I developed the property, the lot drains from the back to the front, or they would not give me the completion process, for it is completed. I cannot be responsible for what the builder does. And they haul a lot of dirt in and all around that house, and they change the drainage, and I cannot control that. So, just letting you know, when the lots are developed, it drains from the back of the lot to the front of the street.
What's the process when
A permit is issued?
when we approve a site plan and they have the drainage studies? What's the check and balance to make sure the builder or the developer is actually adhering to that?
Yeah, I think that's generally part of the final inspection of the home. Unfortunately, with grading, it's very
No, you can't just visually.
Yeah, it's very
that's great.
particular because by the time as Jim mentioned, when the lots are approved and constructed, the developer has them flow into the street. By the time the home builder's in, they bring in the pad for the foundation and everything else. And then at the end, you also have, a lot of these times if you've seen these sod companies, it'll be 3 inches of sod and 4 inches of dirt. And so then you end up with just this grid. So visually, it's something that it's really hard to gauge visually. And generally, if they have issues, that home builder, and I mean, I've dealt with it myself, they claim they have a year warranty to have any issues fixed. And I think they're still ongoing, still trying to fix some of those issues that were brought up today. But that's all part of the final inspection. But when you have sod and when you have, loads and loads of dirt that come in, it's really hard to gauge that.
So it could look great on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It has never drained from front to back, ever, or back to front, ever. And now they have another guy with a plan, and this is how it works. He's gonna tear my yard apart again, go on another year, and not have a backyard, so what they can do.
One person at a time, please.
North to south, along our back fence, that's where it
Drainage is huge.
drains, north to south. That's the build.
So I remember what I was going to say a while ago, and John Cleveland, 2307 Threewood. So when we're talking about all the rain and all the water and everything like that, and what I mentioned earlier was, back in the day when a lot of the water was reorganized around the city, we flooded downtown. But, right now in Pecan Lakes, it doesn't matter really where you are, there are areas of the street that do not drain very well. So I live on Threewood at Eagle Way, so it's right in that corner. There's so much water that'll stand there and it'll stay there. So we can't be sure what's going to happen with drainage down at the other end of the subdivision because there's no way to tell until it's complete. Because who's going to shoot the right grade? And that's the real concern for all these people, including myself.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Last comment of the night.
Thank you, sir. Brian Stanley, I'm at 2406 Threewood also. First of all, a lot of these issues that my fellow residents are talking about are builder issues. My backyard has a 4-inch differential from the back of the backyard to the front part of the backyard and the front yard. The front yard's higher than the back, and that's because the builder failed to bring in dirt and properly grade the backyard. I've run those elevations and I know what I'm up against. I installed a French drain, which I didn't want to do because that just means that you've got to clean it out at some point in time. That becomes a separate issue. But all these issues really are builder issues and not the residential issues. I do feel bad for the people with the center property, believing that they were going to have a nice big lot with their neighbors with the same on the side. But the drainage issues, I work for a commissioner in East Montgomery County. I can tell you there's no drainage issues out here. I can tell you what drainage issues are. I think that's not the problem. The problem are the buildings on the individual lots and how they flow into each other too. That also creates some issues.
Thank you, sir. Well, folks, what shall we do?
Close the public. Close the public so we can.
Yeah, I said he was the last comment. Yes. Yeah.
I think when a planned urban development proposal comes to this committee, and this committee votes on a planned urban development as platted, it is the expectation that the planned urban development be as it was approved and not altered down the road. Those 10-acre lots were part of an assembly of hundreds of homes that were all decided at the same time that those properties would be those properties. And now we have people coming and asking us to change them. Not something I'm agreeable with.
Well, for different reasons, I guess, my personal opinion is I can't support it, because of the issues that are brought forth by the citizens who live there and the drainage. And so I make a motion to deny the replat submitted by JH Development LLC and Claire Taylor for the replat of 3 existing lots into 14 single-dwelling residential lots. Properties affected are located along Back 9 Lane in Navasota, Grimes County, Texas, 77868, legally described as Pecan Lakes Estates Phase 3, Section 2, Lot 48, and Pecan Lakes Estates Phase 3, Section 3, Lot 45 and 46.
We have a motion from Commissioner Copeland to deny.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Wisner to deny. All in favor of the denial signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed to the denial?
Nay.
Nay.
I just want to make a comment, and the reason why I'm somewhat on the fence here is is the majority of the issue flooding, or is the majority of the issue we don't want homes built there? That's what's in my head from the public, because it's kind of a mixture of both.
It's both, yeah.
So from a drainage standpoint, I mean, it's not the landowner, it's the builder who isn't responsible for the topography of that land, right? And I'm unclear of what the check and balance is to make sure that they're building to the standard that they said they would. So that's half of my reason. And the other half is if drainage wasn't an issue, would there be so much pushback from residents at that point?
Yes.
So Ethan, with the vote being tallied, it's a split vote, so it's denied, and we'll get.
No, I just wanted to
Yeah.
to clarify what I was thinking in the process.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get with the developer on the concerns raised.
And as a resident of Pecan Lakes, I feel they're paying for the drainage issues out there, but it's builder issues. Because my backyard, all the yards around me drain into our backyard, and we've got a lake every time it rains, so we've got our own private Pecan Lake. And D.R. Horton's put in French drains on both sides of us, and it helped, but it's a builder issue. They're not doing the proper build up in the yards. I watched them I live on Mulligan Lane, and when they put a whole 20 houses behind me on whatever the next street is back, and they were building them all at once, and they came in from one end of the street with a grader, and they graded all the way down and leveled everything off before they came in and started putting the fences up, and it changed the drainage of the whole block of 20 homes.
Well, that was one of my questions that I wrote down to talk to Lupe tomorrow about when we visit is, the inspections related to residential homes versus inspections related to commercial properties such as downtown, and and the steps that are employed along all of the way. Are these properties as residential? Do they get a permit, and then at the end, when they're ready to sign the closing, then somebody comes back and, does another inspection, or are there inspections all along the way, like there are for a lot of the commercial properties or the renovated properties? Those developers are being inspected and inspected and inspected and inspected. So, is there one inspection for residential and multiple for commercial? I don't know. So that's my question, and it almost sounds like perhaps there is a different standard that we're being, that is occurring for residential versus commercial.
They definitely both have roughly the same amount of inspections, for sure. But we can touch base and we'll kind of walk you through the process.
Okay.
Yep.
But what none of them have is somebody coming in and resurveying the elevations at the end of a project. That's not done.
That was what my concern was.
Yeah.
How do we know they did what they did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hard one. It's a very hard one.
Part of the problem with the black gumbo is the water cannot go into the ground, right? That's part of the problem. And they don't bring in enough.
Number 7, number 6.
Consideration and possible action on the meeting minutes for May 23rd, 2024. And I don't believe I was here for May 23rd.
I was not here either.
So you may want to check the log.
For May 24th?
For May 23rd.
May 23rd.
May 23rd?
Oh, May 23rd.
It's May 23rd.
Forget what
Sure.
month we're in.
That's Cross Trails Development.
I was here for that, yeah. I don't know if Randy was.
I don't think I was here for
I don't
that,
think you
so
were either.
you need to amend that. I was absent for
Yeah.
the May 23rd meeting.
Guess I really wanted you here that day, Randy.
I was here in spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll verify that.
Okay. If I was here, I would have signed in.
I do remember that, and I remember you not being
Mhm.
here.
I wanted to be here, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Motion
I
to
do
approve
remember
with the,
With the corrections, yeah.
Okay.
I move that we approve the minutes,
We have a motion from Commissioner Butcher.
with the
With
correction
the
of
correction.
removing you.
Yeah, showing me as
Present.
absent.
I'll second.
So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of June the 13th, 2024.
Missed that one.
Those are correct.
Yeah, they're fine.
I'll second them.
Workshop. Okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With that, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:53 PM